Get ready for a powerhouse of inspiration. Principal Baruti Kafele. A highly regarded educator and a transformational leader, Principal Kafele has spent over 20 years in New Jersey's urban schools, making a lasting impact as both a master teacher and a turnaround principal. Under his leadership, the mighty Newark Tech transformed from a low-performing school to one of America's best, as recognized by U.S. News and World Report 3 times. A recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, Principal Kafele is one of the most sought-after voices in school leadership and equity. He's delivered over 3,000 keynotes, workshops, and seminars across the nation, authored 13 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers, and continues to empower leaders through his live-streamed AP and New Principals Academy. Please join us in welcoming the extraordinary Principal Baruti Kafele.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, and good morning. Welcome to week 294. 93 consecutively of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got checking in here. I'm a few minutes late, y'all. I was having some Wi-Fi issues, man. Some connection issues anyway. We got here, where we at? Oh, I gotta go way up here. We got Mrs. Yolanda McKinney in the building down in Texas. We got Mona Obamolak in Orlando, Florida. Constance Sherrod is in Pearl, Mississippi. Dr. Rachel Edowekit is in Maryland. We got AP Patrick Lawrence checking in from Connecticut. Grace Castaneda is in Kyle, Texas. We got Nadira Coley. She's in Newark, Brick City, New Jersey. Rodney Richardson, Hampton, Virginia. Robin Snowden, Harambe. She's in Fresno, California. Arlette Johnson is in Chile, Connecticut. Yeah, I'm in Chile, Jersey, too. Where we at? But I was in freezing Chicago yesterday. Where we at? Lysandra Brackens is in North Carolina. Michael Benton is in Cincinnati, Ohio. Sonia Matthew is in Maryland as well. We got Takesha High is in Virginia. Where we at? We got Ronald Pugh, Cedar Hill, Texas. I appreciate y'all jumping over there to YouTube, man. I appreciate it. But I know a lot of we still on Facebook and all them other platforms, but I appreciate you jumping over there. I'm not going to switch off for a while because, you know, people got to catch up, but I appreciate y'all switching over like that. Now, see, some of y'all got them names. I don't know who you are. And they're like Tango Girl Viola. Oh, that's Janine. Okay. Janine Wilkins is in the building. I should have just read the description first. Joy Team Love, that's Stacy L. Joy. Congratulations, National Board Certified Teacher. Congratulations to you. Hey, y'all, do me a favor. Give Stacy L. Joy. She's been rocking with us almost from the beginning. Maybe it was the beginning. I'm not sure, but give her a big round of applause. She's now National Board Certified Teacher out there in LA doing her thing. And, you know, she can retire right now if she wants to, you know, but she's still elevating, right? So I'll give her a big round of applause, man. Give her some love on here. We got Marsha Poe out in San Diego. We got John Herricks. Vanessa's down in Denton, Texas. Vanessa Zeskin is in Connecticut. I'm going to try to work on that, what you asked me, Vanessa. I got to figure it out. Instagram is a different animal for me, so we'll figure it out. We got my man, Sean Gallard. I see all your posts, sir. I tend not to like everything, but I scroll, and I see a lot of things, man. And just good stuff. Keep it up, Sean. You're doing big things out there. I love it. Melissa Jones Tuna was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Haley Elaine Couch is also in Oklahoma. She'll be my guest. She's my Milken sister, so she'll open up Milk in January with me. We're gonna go one-on-one. Mark your calendars, y'all. She's a instructional coach guru, right? Let me say that again. Haley Couch is an instructional coach guru. She's been on the platform before during Milk in January. And for those of you that don't know what I mean by Milken, for now, I'll just say Google it, right? And then we'll come back and talk about it later. But she, I decided I don't even want to bring on other guests for that conversation. It's just going to be she and I, and we're going to talk instructional leadership for about 90 minutes. So don't miss that. The first Saturday in January. So it's right around the corner. We got Edwin Garcia. That's the New Jersey Visionary Assistant Principal of the Year. He'll be my guest too coming up later in the spring. So we're looking forward to that. Let me keep going, y'all. We got David Bell, Benton Harbor, Michigan, retired principal, Dr. McKeeva Jeter. She was at NABC in spirit yesterday. She was there in spirit. Where we at? Kenyell Session is in Oklahoma City. Hey Kenyell, are you a Thunder fan? They trying to break the Golden State Warriors record, man. They were 73-9 a few years ago, but it looked like OKC, barring injury, I think that they can break that record. I think they can get 74 wins or more, barring injury. If they get key injuries, forget about it. We'll see what happens. I'm rooting for them. I love that team. Jennifer Gates is in the building. Good to see you. Good to see Dr. Gates. I'm not used to seeing you on this thread like this, man. I see you on X, but I haven't seen you on this thread. So good to see you. Good to see you. Arcella Austria, I'm gonna watch you on Josh Tovar's PGP podcast tomorrow night while I'm watching football. Right, Sean Hurt in the building, man. He was dropping it today. Matter of fact, real quick, Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock Facebook Live every Saturday morning Eastern time. He's always bringing those nuggets, man. Always, man. He fires me up while I'm watching. And then you got Create and Educate, Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor. That's at 10:30. Those Facebook Live myself, 10:55, and then that we call it Super Saturday. And then we round it off on Sunday with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno. She's over in Africa doing her thing. She always goes to Africa, and she just rolling all up and down the continent, working with young people and teachers. And she'll be back soon, I guess. And that's on Sundays at 6 o'clock Eastern. That rounds us out. Tony McClenny, I tried to get your attention yesterday at NABC. I saw you during the general session. You walked right by me, but I couldn't things were happening on the stage, so I couldn't yell your name, So, but good to see you anyway. Dr. McKeeva Jeter, I said your name already. I'm getting ready to round it out, y'all. Otis Kitchen II. That's Principal Otis Kitchen II. He's in the building. He said, good morning. I'm at the Men of Color Educational Leadership Conference in Orlando. I need to be down there with you. Hey, Otis, y'all allowed to say color? Before I get started, I'm at the NABC conference yesterday, and during the general session, and the president-elect, Dr. Kim McLeod, who was supposed to be on here earlier, but she fell ill, but she will be here at some point before the year is out for sure. But she had announced, she said, we lost funding this year, and you could tell from the attendance because it's happening all over the country. But the attendance was good, but it wasn't what we're accustomed to, right? But she said we lost funding because the word Black is in the name of the organization. It's called the National Alliance of Black School Educators. So do know, folks, if you are Black, but you identify as Black, there may be repercussions. See, I shouldn't even have said that to y'all because I feel like I need to preach now, right? But I'm not. I'm not gonna preach, y'all. I don't think I'm gonna preach anyway. I feel like it's a spirit like churning in me right now, right? But listen, yeah, she said we lost funding. Now let me go backwards. I'm preaching. Y'all bear with me, man. Come on, it's a cold Saturday morning. Listen, I was at the Black Men in Education Convening Conference in Philadelphia in November, as you all know if you were tuned in. And it was announced from their stage, there are people, funders, who are not in the room. This is during the general session, who are not in the room right now, who were in the room last year. Why? Because we have the word Black in our name. Black Men in Education Convening. So in other words, y'all, if there's somebody MAGA on here watching right now and you getting ticked off by my words, hear me, somebody. Hear me well. Put your ear right on that speaker. These two organizations and others, hundreds of others, thousands of others, are Black organizations to specifically speak to Black issues. And in many cases, if not most cases, these Black organizations were birthed out of not being able to be who we are in the mainstream. So since we can't be who we need to be in the mainstream, we have to create our own, but we have to make sure we identify who we are so that others can gravitate to us who have comparable concerns about whatever it is that this organization may be about. So there's a need for a national alliance of Black school educators to specifically, not broadly, but specifically talk about the issues and concerns of educating Black children. And in this case, by Black educators. That's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing, not just for Black people, but for the world, particularly America, right? But again, I'm gonna stop preaching, y'all. They said, we ain't funding you under this regime we have right now. We're not funding you as long as you identify as Black. Let me stop right there. I got guests and I still got my whole lineup. Let me end with, I see the queen of the castle. Y'all, I'm in the castle, baby. I ain't in Chicago, right? The queen of the castle, Kimberly Broughton Kafele, is here. With that being said, let me transition, y'all. Let me get to these announcements and my monologue, and then I got returning guests. That means they were high powered when they were here the first time. We said, let's come back and do this again, right? Hey, y'all, how you doing? How you feeling? That's, I'm still asking that question. I tried to get away from it and I just can't. How y'all doing, man? I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm real good. Let me tell you why. There's a lot of reasons why. But let me tell you the one that's like salient right now for me. Because I was at the National Alliance of Black School Educators Conference yesterday, NABC, along with one of my guests here, Dr. Deborah Wortham. I was there, man. Let me tell y'all something, man. We all need a little love sometime. We do, right? We all need to be in environments where we really feel good about ourselves. We need to be in environments where we're affirmed for the toil, for the hard work that we do on a regular basis, man. Everywhere I walk, it's people just stopping me, man. When I ate breakfast, when I ate lunch, when I walked up the stairs, when I walked in when I rode the escalator, I don't care what it is. Matter of fact, when I went into the men's room, people like, yo, Kafele, man, you don't know. Man, I needed that, man. I was there to do a presentation, packed room, standing room only, but it's the people just giving the love like, yo, I appreciate what you do, man. We need that, man. Because I go places, man, I'm sitting like big conference, 1,000 people in the room. I'm sitting at the table before the program starts, like reading the room. I'm like, man, 1,000 people in here. Ain't nobody gonna walk up here and say hi. Like, I literally think that way. I hope I'm not coming across incorrectly, right? I literally, like, I'm sitting at the table by myself. It's 1,000 of y'all behind me. Like, nobody gonna come over here and say hi. I'm like, damn, right? So to go to a place like NABC and they on you when you walk in the hotel, let me tell y'all something. That never gets old, man. I will never forget, man. I stole this phrase from Allen Iverson. I stole it. I was in Hampton, Virginia a few years ago. And that's back when my daughter was going to Hampton. And Bethel High School in Hampton has a reunion every July, I guess it was, right? So we in the hotel, and that's where Allen Iverson went to school. Now, Allen Iverson, he cool and laid back. He don't want to be messing with no fans like that, right? So I walked up. I know how he is from just seeing him for half my life, right? So I just walked up on him and I had my hand. I said, I just want to get a handshake, man. So he had his shades. I couldn't see his eyes, and he had his bodyguards around him. His homies. They protecting him. So he put out his fists, right? Instead of shaking hands. I understand. I get it. He put out his fists and we fist bump, and he went like this here. He looked at me, and in that Allen Iverson voice, he said, "The love never gets old." That's all he said. He said, the love never gets old. And I said, bam, I stole that, man. I use that everywhere. I got it from AI, not artificial intelligence, but Allen Iverson. I stole that from him, man. The love never gets old. See, I live that. That's why I make sure that I give love to people I see, man. Man, boom. That's how I do it, man. Let's go. Hey, y'all, what were your wins last week? I'm not going to spend no time on this. What were your wins last week? And what will you do next week to take your game to another level? Oh, I see y'all commenting on here, man. I missed that. I got my former student on here, Kasim Walker. I see you. I walked into North Tech in 2005, and I had a student like 6'8", 6'9". I'm looking up at this guy, man. I'm like, oh my God, they this tall in high school? That's my man. That's Kasim Walker, man. Good to see. Another former student, Letitia Anderson Davis. She said, I'm not in education, but this reaps through corporate like crazy. That's one. I had this young lady, I ain't gonna tell you her age, man. I had her, she was my student in 6th grade. And back in 1990 something, right? 90 something, right? And she's still rocking me to this day, man. That's when you know you must have done the work, right? When your former student that you had in 5th grade is still tuning into the academy, and she's not even an educator, she's in the corporate space. Oh man, Shauna King, great to see you yesterday. That's right. I see you, Beth Taylor Huff. I see you. Great to see you. Oh man, I got another former student on here. I got Shanavia Davis on here. See that? Yo, I know I got guests. I know I'm behind now, but listen, I gotta tell you something, man. I gotta tell you something. Sometimes we don't know in real time if we connecting with the students. We don't know. We hope we are. We think we are. All that kind of stuff, right? But then when you see their name, Kasim Walker, Letitia Anderson, Shanavia Davis, these are adults I knew as children. They still on. I mean, they could drop me a note on Facebook or something. They on the live stream. That's how you know. It might be some more in here, and I just overlooked them, right? But anyway, I appreciate the three of y'all. I really do. Matters. It's bigger than NAPSI yesterday, just to see your names on here, right? Let's go, y'all. What will you do next week to take your leadership to a new height, right? Just think about that over the course of today's platform. Let me go to these announcements, y'all. Shout out to Dr. JoAnna Kunjufu tribute. We, brother from Chicago, Dr. Obari Cartwell, saw it not robbery to bring like 10 of us together. And we did a virtual tribute for about 2 hours last week to Dr. JoAnna Kunjufu, who used to be a NAPSI powerhouse. But yeah, that was, he died not too long ago. He transitioned not too long ago, and we did a very beautiful tribute to him. I was blessed to be asked to do that, to be a part of that, because his role in my professional career is inseparable, right? It's inseparable. I don't know that there's a me without his work, and that's my God's honest truth. You know, him and multiple others, but certainly he plays a significant role in terms of the kind of work he was producing and generating. Secondly, shout out to the Pennsylvania Department of Education Leadership Conference out in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I keynoted that conference, and we this week, and we had a great time, man. Grand old time. I've heard from a lot of the folks since then, and just shout out to them. We were in the Hershey Lodge. When you go to the DoubleTree, they give you the chocolate chip cookies, right? And I always turn them down, like, nah, we good, right? But I got there, they gave you 2 Hershey bars, right? I'm like, I wanted that bad boy, because if you at the Hershey Lodge in Hershey, that's a fresh bar, man. It was like they probably just produced it, whatever the language would be, right? I'm not conversing in chocolate talk, right? So they I wanted it, man. Let me tell y'all, man, I wanted that Hershey bar, but them diabetes, man, they were saying, like, you always feel the diabetes in your toes, right? You may not feel it, in your body and all that, but you're always reminded in your feet that you're diabetic. So I was like, nah, you keep the. They said, why don't you want it? I said, I'm diabetic. She pulled it back real quick. She's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was like, no, I don't apologize. You didn't know me, right? So, but yeah, man. And then shout out to NAPSE, National Alliance of Black School Educators in Chicago, man. Again, whew, what a time, man. 365 days in a year. I need that NAPSE to be a part of them days, man. I need that love. That was good. That room was packed. Woo! If any of them folks, y'all know you're not supposed to be on here watching me right now. You're supposed to be paying attention to the sessions at NAPSE. But if any of you are sneak watching me, because people do that all the time, shout out to you. I appreciate you being there yesterday. All right, let's go, y'all. Welcome to the first timers. But if this is, in fact, your first time, you have missed 290, where we at? 92 sessions. Now, I don't know what week we in, man. This is week number 294. I said 293. No, this is this is new 294. So you missed 293 sessions. Man, I said that wrong before, right? So go to YouTube, AP New Principals Academy, subscribe, and then binge watch all 293 sessions that you missed. Just binge watch them. Watch them all. Might take you a while because they average 2 hours, right? But that's all right. Nah, I ain't gonna even say it. Just watch it. Just watch it. Here we go. Hey y'all, I'm almost done with these announcements, and I got to do my promo, my monologue. We're gonna keep that short though, I promise you. Real quick, y'all. You know, you still got, what's today's date? The 13th. I told you the regime down in Washington and how they jacked up the economy, right? And a lot of people, they don't even realize what's going on with, a lot of people think it's just the supermarket, right? It's the publishing industry, not a publishing company, not ASCD, my publisher. The industry took a nose dive. People ain't got no money to be buying no books. School districts not buying books in bulk and all that kind of stuff. So my book, my gem, took a hit. This book should have been a bestseller after about 3-4 months based on ASCD's criteria of 10,000 in the first year. I ain't hit 10,000 yet, and the birth date is 3 days from now, December 16th. So I'm gonna do. I've been. Ain't no shame in my game, as you know, for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Hey, y'all, I really want this book to have that bestseller label. If you don't have it, do me a favor. Do your brother a favor. Go to ascd.org. Right? I could say Amazon, but that's them numbers take longer to kick in because Amazon already bought them. Go to ascd.org. Get that book. Not just to make it a bestseller, it'll make you a better leader. Right? So go get the book. It's all instructional leadership. It's, as I say everywhere I go, including yesterday, is where the rubber meets the road. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? We're at 9,000 something. I don't know. 9,000 something. I need 10,000 to be a bestseller, right? So do me a favor. Run on out there. Go to ASCD, the letters, ascd.org. When you see the search engine there, just put Baruti Kafele, don't put principal, put BARUTI, and get yourself a copy of the book. Help me make this a bestseller. And if it doesn't become a bestseller, I know it's not because the book what wasn't strong and solid. I know it's because of the regime in Washington, D.C. I know that, right? So let's go. Where we got? I got one of my guests is Canadian. She probably said, "Hey, Kafele going hard on the government in the United States today." Yeah, man, I go hard on them every day, right? It's these are not good times, but I digress. I got that conference coming up, y'all. Let me do this quickly, man. I'm going over, man. I'm rambling. Where's my oh my God, I can't find it. I can't find it. Where? Oh, I didn't pull it up. All right, listen, y'all. We got the conference. I didn't pull it up today, so don't worry about it. We got the conference, Nurturing Greatness Summit, February 16. I didn't bring it up, so by the time we finish today, I will bring it up. If you're still with me, if not, go to my Facebook page, any of my social media pages, and you'll see it. We'll be in Seton Hall University in South Orange, February 16. This is myself, Dr. Tanya Breland, Dr. Erica Leak, and we put together this conference where we're talking about a multiplicity of things in education. I'd love to see you in the building, right? So I'll put it up before we're done. And then lastly, before I go to my monologue, my School Leadership Institute in Savannah, Georgia this year, that is where we will be. My 9th annual School Leadership Institute. We will be in Savannah, Georgia, July 9 and 10. I don't have any of the particulars up online yet. My business partner will have that Eventbrite page set up soon. I'll have it on my website, principalcafele.com. And then we would love for you to come on out and be with us. In every year, I do nothing twice. So if you came at previous years, I'm not covering that content. It's always new content. It's always fresh, right? And we spend 2 whole days from 9 to 4, both days, and just giving you what you need to go back to your school to take your game to the next level. So be on the lookout for that. All right, let me go to my monologue, y'all, and then I'm gonna be done. Today, I would consider this a special day in my life, but in the life of countless across America and across the world. Today is the 150th birthday of the late, great Dr. Carter G. Woodson, right? Dr. Carter G. Woodson, born 150 years ago today. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about him real quick. This is my monologue. So my monologue is not a leadership message. It's a Dr. Carter G. Woodson message. So we're going to keep it real quick, keep it brief. Dr. Woodson was born in 1875. He was born to 2 former slaves who were illiterate. So he worked with them just to make enough money to live in the coal mines. He was born in New Canton, Virginia. So in the coal mines in West Virginia, he and as a sharecropper, he worked until he was age 20 and he went to high school, right? Went to high school at the age of 20, but he was self-educated. So by the time he went to high school, he knew how to read, he knew how to write, he knew how to do math, he knew science, he knew language arts, he knew social studies. He knew it all, right? He's a very smart man. So he educated himself while he's working as a sharecropper, working as a coal miner. Then I'm only going to be brief here. I'm not going to give you the full story. He goes on to undergrad school in Kentucky, Berea College, then to the University of Chicago. I wish I had been thinking about that when I was there, because we were in Chicago yesterday at NAPSE. And the keynote yesterday, Dr. Goldie Muhammad is a professor at the University of Chicago. So I wish I had thought about that yesterday. Maybe they brought it up today at today's general session. But he was he earned his master's at the University of Chicago. But then his PhD, he earned that at Harvard University. He was the second African-American to earn a PhD from Harvard University in 1912, behind Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, who earned his in 1895. He went on and created an organization called the Association for the Study of Negro Life in History. Let me give you that again. The Association for the Study of Negro Life in History. Let me tell you why he created that organization. He was a dues-paying member of the American Historical Society, right? American Historical Association. And he was barred from it. Right, he was barred from it because he wanted that association, again, the American Association, the American Historical Association. He wanted them to have a focus on history, on African-American history, among other aspects of American history, but they didn't want to deal with it. So once he was barred from it, he created his own association. Again, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History in 1915, and then within that, he created Negro History Week, which became Black History Month. So when you celebrate, when you study, when you embrace history, when whatever it is you do during February, Black History Month, that's his creation, which spawned out of the week, Negro History Week, second week in February. Why that week? Why only a week? Why the second week? Because that was the week of the birth of the late, great Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. So he wanted it to coincide with the 2 birthdays. We didn't know no one knew the exact birth dates of Frederick Douglass because those records were not kept, of the enslaved, but it was always approximated that it was that second week of February. So he went on and did that. but he was also a historian. He was a researcher. He was a scholar. He was a professor. He was a dean. He was professor and dean at Howard University for a long time. Right? I'm not going to get all into the specifics of that because of time. But the last thing I want to say to you on that, a lot of people, they talk about Dr. Woodson in terms of history, but here's a piece that doesn't always come up. He was a grade school teacher, and he was a school principal. So the school where he was a principal is still up. I spoke in West Virginia about 2 years, I don't know, a few years ago. Let's put it that way. I don't know when it was, but the school, I went over to where the school was and just to stare at it, right? And there it was. So, and then he died in 1950 of a heart attack, right? At the age of 75. So just wanted to make sure that I paid some kind of tribute to this great man, because when we talk about Black history, I mean, the story wasn't being written the way it needed to be. The focus wasn't there. This man, he said, and I'm gonna close on this, he said, the history of the Black man and woman needs to be studied, needs to be learned, needs to be taught, needs to be told, needs to be discussed, needs to be explained, needs to be celebrated. He said it needs to be. So he became known as the father of Black history. He's not the creator of it. There were people writing before him. But in terms of what he did with that week and what he did with that association, it took the awareness of it to another level. So we pay tribute to him today, his birth date, February 13th, and 150 years ago, but also 1926 will mark the 100th anniversary of Negro History Week, Black History Month. So there'll be a lot that will be said about that in throughout 2026. So enough said, y'all. I got guests today. Let me get my notes right here. I got guests today, and I got nothing else to say. So let me bring them on up here. Let me get my screen right. Here we go. All right, we got the background right. Now we get my guest up here, and bam! Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, and y'all forgive me for going on and on and on. I think I'm known to do that though. It's good to see you for a second time. Listen, y'all, I'm not going to read those bios because we got so much to talk about. I'm just going to tell you that we got 3 superintendents. 2 are retired. Dr. Deborah Wortham is a longtime superintendent in New York State, and she retired, but she's not retired from the work. She's just retired from going into a office every day, right? But the work, we were just at NABC yesterday, right? In Chicago. So she's not retired from the work. Dr. Shannon Vincent was a superintendent down in Mississippi, but she retired from and she's so young, maybe she temporarily retired. But for now, she's retired, but she's still doing the work. So the 2 of them, Dr. Wortham, Dr. Vincent, are still consulting, still speaking, probably still writing, doing everything like myself, just not going into a building, into an office every day and receiving a paycheck, that type of thing. And then Dr. Roberto, she's current superintendent. She's up in Canada and doing her thing. I met her years ago. She invited the kid from New Jersey to come on up and be a part of their community, and I had a great time while I was there, and we've been friends ever since, right? So here we are.
You got it. And you passed a birthday just a little while ago, didn't you?
65, man. I'm an OG.
Happy birthday.
I appreciate that. You know, the young people started identifying me as OG when I turned 60-ish. And I didn't really want to embrace it. That's just a contemporary, modern Generation Z way of saying I respect you, right? Elder, all that kind of thing. But some 65, I'm like, hey, I'm with it, right? So and I understand, and as I know you do as well, Dr. Wortham, I also understand my role.
Yeah.
At this age, see, I have a responsibility now, right? I always had it, but it's I think it magnified, it intensified in terms of my role in this age bracket. right? So so I'm going to live it. I'm going to live it. Hey, y'all, let me to the fam out there. We ready to go. I'm not reading the bios, man. Look them up, Google them, or if you want them, I'll send them to you. Send me an email, right? Send me an inbox. But I put together, hit that share button, hit that retweet, hit that repost, let folks know we are here, and hit that like button as well. That's what generates some algorithms. Ruby Linda, 294, and I gotta say that's consecutively, right? We haven't missed a week. I've been on here 294 consecutive weeks. A couple of them were recorded because the guests couldn't come on live, but StreamYard streams this out live at the same time. So we still never missed it. It was never a blank space on a Saturday morning since May 2nd, 2020. So to the fam out there, this session is called I'm Ready for the New Year. And then we're going to fill in the blank, right? I was on a 6-hour flight delay Thursday night. And what I used to have as the session for today, I threw it in the proverbial trash can and I created this new one. And I think this is going to be dynamite. Better than what I had. Thank God for the 6-hour delay. Y'all ever seen that commercial? They say, oh, he off track again. Y'all ever seen that commercial when they got the people in the airport watching a football game? And it's like close to like the end of the game and we don't know who's going to win. And the gate agent says the flight is delayed. And the people go, yay! Right? Because now they can watch the rest of the game. Well, when I was sitting in the airport and they kept delaying it, I'm like, yes, I can keep working because I tend to fall asleep on planes, right? So I knew I wasn't going to fall asleep at no gate, right? And then wake up and my bags be gone, right? So so here we go. Let's jump into it. Folks, to the fam, the calendar year is just about over. If you're in those states that started in May, you at the halfway point. If you're in those states that started in September, you're not even at the halfway point. Somebody said, don't even remind me. No, you won't be at the halfway point until the end of January. So you have a long way to go, right? But that's a good thing if you came into this business for the right reason, right? That means you got ample time to take a youngster to heights that he or she never imagined. So with it being mid-year, I said, I got some questions that I want to raise to my guests that I would think that many of you probably have as the same questions. I wanted to give them an opportunity to give you some responses to these 10 questions. And then if we have time, we'll go into some talking points that they sent me. But in the meantime, I don't think we're going to have time. So I want to start off. Each of them is going to respond to the questions, but I'm going to call a name for each one to go first. So Dr. Wortham, as we said off camera, once again, the question is first the statement, I'm ready for the new school year. That's somebody on this stream or someone who's going to watch this video later on in the week. I'm ready for the new school year. I mean, I'm ready for the new year, not school year, but the new year. But I'm concerned that my leadership is not impacting the culture of my school the way I envisioned it. Let me put that on the screen too. I actually have it here. So again, I'm ready for the new year, but I'm concerned that my leadership is not impacting of my the way I envisioned it.
That's kind of scary a little bit for me because when, excuse me, when you uttered the phrase, my leadership isn't impacting the school culture, it almost feels like a confession, and not a good confession, a confession really of failure. And we know that failure is not an option.
Right.
But over time, I've learned that it's not a destination, it's a diagnostic. And it's a moment when a leader really stops and honestly assesses the distance between intention and influence. The difference between strategy and a lived reality. So to me, school culture is my life. Absolutely. It's just my life. I'm going to hold this up real quick. Setting the atmosphere. This is my book about school culture.
Yeah.
And so It's all I know. So school culture is just the heartbeat of absolutely everything, every learning community. And it's just the sum of all unspoken, and it's the daily rituals, it's the collective beliefs. It's teaching and learning, it's belonging, it's the leader's absolute presence, shifting that culture. That's what we're there to do. So the issue really lies with not with the leader's title, but it's with the leader's connection to the people. That's the concern. Your connection to the people, the practices, and the purposes. So I'm just going to land with this. So culture changes through relational bandwidth, not positional power. I coach a lot of people and they say, I want to be, and then they name the position. I want to be. What's your intent for your relational bandwidth for whatever leadership position you desire? So it's not, leadership isn't performed in the corner office. It is earned in the hallways. It's earned in the cafeteria. It's earned in the classrooms. It's those informal gatherings that we just, you just saluted so much about NAPSI this morning.
Yeah.
It was the hugs for me. I posted more about the hugs, the relationships, because it's through those relationships that you can develop the desired outcome. I want to say, somebody say amen. So you have to focus on consistency. So does the leader understand the challenges? The culture is the way you do business. That's it. Think about how you do business each and every day. How many handshakes, how many, you started this segment with, how you doing? Start every day with, how are you doing? Building trust with the leaders. When the leaders show up, there's another thought I'm going to land with. I'm going to pass the mic. So the impact then really starts with observable routines, not intentions. What are those routines? What are the habits of the mind that you have built? Intentions matter, but culture responds to habits. So leaders who shift cultures, they actually embed visible, predictable practices and reinforce those desired outcomes. Going into classrooms with a purpose, celebrating progress publicly and specifically, coaching conversations, and building time and space for teacher voice.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, you said how you do business.
Yes.
That's it. That's it. How you do business in that building.
That's it.
Either one of you chime one in here.
Sure. I want to build off of what you said, and what comes to mind for me is a couple of things. When you pose the question, is the humility and the vulnerability for a leader to actually come out, right, and indicate that that is something that is weighing on their mind around their leadership, only to me models what it means to be a reflective practitioner. So you've got to have some data points in your back pocket that are pressing you to open up, to be vulnerable, to where do I begin, right? And I come back to, how do you set the table, right? And who is at your table? And very much like what you said, I think that the ability to be present is key, because if you're present, that means you actually enter into the school, enter into the culture. We all know, strategy eats culture for breakfast, or culture eats strategy for breakfast, however we want to say it. But the bottom line is, you need to be present and you need to really understand what the culture looks like, sounds like, and feels like. It needs to be organic, and it needs to grow right from the students to the educators to the support staff in your school. And you, as the leader, need to influence and create conditions that allow all of you to come together to define what it means to be a family, what it means to be a culture of learning, a culture of well-being, and a culture of belonging in your schools. And I think that that's an important piece for a leader to actually step back, right? Reflect, and to determine how do we create this culture, because it's one thing for you to create it, it's another thing when you bring everybody on board to create that culture, to define it and to live it every day.
Love it. Love it. Go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say this. I'm dealing with this exact situation right now, coaching a leadership team, and it was a turnaround situation. And so she's feeling as if all of the things that she's done in her past 15 years is not working in this particular school. So when we think about it's a new year, I'm ready for the new year, but I thought for the last week and for next week, we're talking about it's a new year, but there's still time to reset. There's still time to reset the expectations. There's still time to reset the, if it's discipline, the culture. It's time to reset, as there's also time to reset the relationships in the building that when you go into a turnaround situation, sometimes get bruised or damaged. So take this time to go to the people who need to have the conversation, the one-on-one conversation with you about expectations and about the relationship and why you're working toward what we're working toward, to, as Doc said, to build the family so that our children win. And then finally, it's time to reset sometimes goals for ourselves. If you can acknowledge that the culture is not where you want it based on your leadership, it's time for you to look within. What can I do differently? What should I do differently? And who can help me get there to make sure that by the end of the year, our school is successful, our children are successful, our parents are happy, and our teachers want to return. If you have a situation where people don't want to return, they're leaving in the middle of the year, then there has to be an instant reset. But because this is the December going into January, right? It's a new year, but there's still time to reset. And that goes for school processes, relationships, and then your self goals, how you deal with you, being honest with yourself, and then how you show up in the building every day.
I love it. I love it. To somebody out there in the fam world on the other side of my camera, again, I'm ready for the new year, but I'm concerned that my leadership is not impacting the culture of my school the way I envisioned it. That's a valid concern. And that's why I wanted to spend a little time addressing it among many other items I have on this paper in front of me. But do know you're not by yourself. Culture is everything, but it's not easy. It's heavy lifting. The culture part precedes the academic part. You know, of course, they're going to come in and the teacher's going to teach every day. But if the culture is not conducive to that teacher being able to teach at a high level, then it's probably not going to happen at a high level. So continue to just mingle, interact, network with others around this thing called culture, because culture is everything about everything that you do, right? So great stuff. If you missed any of that, rewind it later and bring it in again. I'm going to number 2.
Wait, Principal Kafele, I was just going to say, on yesterday when I was coaching an assistant principal, she said, I wish we could redo this. And this is what I'll tell everybody who's struggling in this space, because it's a time to struggle. I told her, don't wish, do. Don't wish, do. If you want to reteach, if you need to reset, if you need to reestablish, don't wish, just do it.
I got to stay there for a second. I can't even move on.
I'm sorry.
And knowing Dr. Wortham the way I know her, she probably can't move on either, right? It's like, fam out there. I'm just gonna say what you said. I ain't gonna listen. You can't sit around just wishing for things, right? It's good to be positive up here, but it cannot stop there that you're wishing, you're hoping. Prayer matters, but there's got to be action that comes after that.
Right.
So listen, don't just sit there, oh man, I wish this, I wish that. No, put structures, measures in place. Build your team, because ultimately it's not even you anyway.
Principal Kafele,
Jump on in there.
the word that just keeps resonating as I'm listening to my colleagues is systems.
Yeah.
Systems, that is the cousin to culture. What are the systems? You have a culture that's solid, that you can slice it with a butter knife, because people know the system and they know what they're supposed to do.
That's right.
I say, feed the people so that they don't eat the children.
Whew.
Feed them. Feed them what they're supposed to do every moment of the day, how they enter the building. Those are things that are taught. When you come in the morning, it's good morning. How you doing?
That's right.
Bring the joy. Wait, it starts when you get up. You imitate the culture of where you're signing into when you get up in the morning. When you look in the mirror and you talk about the mission, why am I getting up out of my good bed? What's my expectation? Why do I exist? That's when culture starts. When you get up, when you take that first vitamin, which is looking in the mirror, the mission, why do I exist? The vision, what do I hope to become? And by the time you get to work and you've given yourself all of these self-affirmations, self-conversations, you were just skipping into the door. That's how you follow the systems. What am I supposed to do? What am I accountable for? What are the beliefs that I have shared with my staff?
Man, that's some powerful stuff. That question you just asked, let me reiterate it. For the fam out there, you said, why do I exist? Hey fam, we people everywhere, we get caught up into what is your purpose? What is your why? We ask that. But see, this is the question. This goes deeper. See, the why, what is my why? What is my purpose? That's at the surface. But now we go, why do I exist?
Right.
That's a different question, fam. That's a different question, y'all. Why was I born? Why was I created? Why am I me versus him or her? See, that's the question.
That's it.
And when you and I figure that out, we're unstoppable.
Right.
But I would dare say that most of us go through life and we not only do we not know the answer, we don't even deal with it.
Right.
We gotta deal with that question. Why the heck am I here? Why do I exist in the first place? And now let's take it to y'all school.
Yeah.
Why am I in this building?
This school. Mm-hmm.
See, y'all ain't thinking like that. Why am I in this school and not the school down the street or the school in the other district? Why am I in this building with this staff and these children in this community? That's a different question, y'all.
It's a different question, but you know what? You were the last keynote speaker that I had as a superintendent. And I needed to just slam dunk my last superintendent's conference day. And you were the one that overwhelmingly everybody said, bring him. Can you get him, Doc? Can you get him? I said, I think I can. pretty much, I think I know him a little bit. And you were so solid.
I appreciate you.
So solid. We soared through that last year. It was powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I could be a part of the beginning of the year. Yep. I appreciate it. Hey, y'all, let's go this. I told y'all, man, I'm sitting in the airport 6 hours. We got through the first question. I got good stuff. It's going to get better.
We'll be coming back next year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt. Dr. Roberto, I'm ready for the new year. Matter of fact, let me put it on the screen. Where we at? Let it be. I'm ready for the new year, but I'm concerned that I continue to have staff members who do not relate to nor buy into the optimistic yet realistic mission of our school. I put the word optimistic to say, yeah, the expectation is a little high, but it's realistic for the body that we serve.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that mission needs to be everywhere, and it's not the placket on this T-shirt. It is what you embody and what you live. And so when I take that word optimistic, I think that the most important piece about that is, as a leader, you need to find every space, every example that shows that shining star of what it means to be optimistic and what it means to be realistic. And you've got to uncover it, classroom by classroom, student by student, teacher by teacher. And you've got to chant it. This has to be the mantra. And everything that you do, I would say, has to tie back to that. And you've got to ask the why. Show me, right? Show me how to do it. Show me why, right? And show me why our work is positioned in the core, right? That everything that we do for students. And I think that brings everybody together when you do not waver from the moral imperative of that, and that you constantly, whether it's from the front door to the announcements, it's everywhere. And I think that that's a critical aspect.
That's right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anybody want to chime in?
Doc, you want to go first, or you want me to go next? Okay. I will say that this has happened before. And when you go into a new superintendent position where the school district has not done well in 20 years, and you come in thinking, this is going to be great. Everyone does not believe it, nor do they receive it in the time frame that you would like for them to receive it. So what I will say is, Doc is correct that you continue to give the message, talk the talk, walk the walk, train the people, to get them to see what can be possible. And I will tell you, in my district, when we had small wins, we celebrated, medium wins, we celebrated, large wins, we celebrated, and that helps people to believe that it can be done. Those celebrations show the people who want to be there, and going back to our last statement, who need to be there and who God sent there for you, it shows them that it can be done. And those are the people who are going to remain with you throughout the journey. Those people who cannot get on board, they will fall away easily because they cannot continue the optimistic or realistic view that our children can succeed. So I think it's two-part. Number one, you keep the optimism going. You celebrate the small wins, you celebrate the medium wins, you celebrate the large wins along the way. You talk the talk, you walk the walk as the leader and your team. But for those who just cannot get with it, it's a one-year contract. You're welcome to go where the Lord sends you or the Lord needs you. And so two-part. You're either there because you know your mission, your why, your purpose, and you remain there to help us get to the end, or you're there temporarily we get the information that we need then, and then you move on. And I think that's the only way to address this part, that you're ready for the new year, but you're concerned that you have staff members who may not buy fully into your optimistic or realistic mission of the school. Either way, with the correct leader leading, the school district is going to perform and be successful eventually with the right people.
Let me
Can
ask
I
you this.
just jump? Sorry, can I
No,
just jump in
go
on
ahead.
something that you said?
Yeah.
You know, you have the ability to have those conversations. I think in education, right, we are moving away from having crucial conversations. And you have that ability to be able to do that. I think what we need to do for the administrators is to build their capacity to be able to have those conversations, right? It's a kind of culture of niceness versus the culture of kindness, right? And it's all intertwined with creating a positive culture. But when I come back to this optimistic aspect, and you talked about, like, you got to wake up for that vitamin and you got to start your day, I also think that we have to be able to build in the ability for folks to have those conversations and to have them really focused in on, you're on the bus, like Jim Collins used to say, and in the right seat, or you're not. And it's okay to have those conversations, because at the end of the day, you're there to make everybody else better than how they came in. And that is so measured. But I just feel like sometimes we move away or we shy away from these crucial conversations. So I just wanted to give you a shout out for actually putting that out, because we often dance around it and we don't address it.
Let me, Dr. Vincent, real quick before we go to Dr. Wortham. I got a question for you. Is in your opinion, can a school be in a situation where it has the wrong mission for its building?
Yes. Yes, I think that there can be an opportunity to have the wrong mission, and that takes reflective practice as well, working with the board, working with your team to figure out that we've been working on, it's almost like dieting for women, right? You get on a certain diet and all your friends are on the diet and you're like, oh, I'm going to lose 40 pounds because my friend has lost 40 pounds. And then you're not losing any weight, right? So that's not the diet for you. You have to choose the one that works for your body, for your blood type, all of those things. And so, yes, I do believe that there's an opportunity or chances for the mission not to be aligned with the community, with the children, with what the desires are, at which point you have to, again, be reflective enough to say, this is not working. We've tried this. We've taught this. We've gone through all of the strategies. We've retaught, we've reset, and it's still not working. So something has to shift. And when you are a leader who is reflective, you can say that to yourself and then get the courage to say it out loud to your team. And when you have the courage to say it out loud to your team, I can tell you, if you had team members like I did, they would say, well, Doc, we've been doing that. We were just waiting for you to get there. And so once everybody is working with the positive synergy to move in a different direction, then you will see shifts to the new mission, or to an adjusted mission, or to the mission that fits the community, the children, the parents, and ultimately we'll see some success there. But yes, I do believe that there's a time when the mission may not fit, because there are diets that I've been on that I've not lost weight and my friends have lost weight.
Yeah. Good stuff. Dr. Wortham, unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, how's that?
That's good.
Okay, so for at least 10 years, I served as a consultant on the mission and vision. I would actually work with districts on the mission and vision. And so staff members relate to the mission when they can see themselves in it. And this is so amazing because the mission statements, you see these balmy breezes in a mission statement that people have to pull out a ledger, a journal to read it because they haven't committed it to memory and therefore not to heart. And so the mission statement, first of all, never say vision before mission. You can't hope to become until you know why you exist. So a mission statement should be no more than 3 sentences. Yes, I said it. 3 sentences. The first sentence, what do I want to do? The second sentence, how will I know that I'm doing it? The third sentence, what will I do if I don't? It can work for dieting. What is it I want to do? Lose 40 pounds. How will I know if I'm doing it? I'm going to drop the weight. What will I do if I don't? Stop eating, close your mouth.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so the mission statement is critical. It's not just, reciting it and repeating it, but the mission has to be visible. It has to be personable. It has to be actionable. I remember one district when I left and the next leader came in and changed the mission statement. Everything went south. The board called me. What can we do? We changed the mission statement. Wait a minute. Wait, now that's your house. Go back to what we know, the 3 statements. Invite dialogue, not compliance. Model the mission before expecting others to mirror it. So the mission, I'm going to repeat it. 3 sentences. What is it that we want to do? How will we know that we're doing it? And what do we do when we don't? Mission before vision. Model it, mirror it.
Fam, write those 3 sentences down. Again, fam, jot those 3 sentences down. Could you give them again, Dr. Wortham?
What is it that we want to do? How will we know that we're doing it? And what will we do when we don't? It does not have to include all of the bells and whistles. We're going to be proficient in technology. No, make it clear, make it plain, and include the masses when you write. That way, you don't have to have buy-in, you have write-in.
Yeah. Great stuff. Hey, let's move on. Let's go to Dr. Vincent. Let me change my screen. Letter C. It's a big one here. I'm ready for the new year, but I'm concerned that my leadership is not impacting the academic performance of my students the way I envisioned it would. And then I added a piece. Many of my students lack motivation. What are your thoughts?
Well, now that's a loaded question.
Very.
So I think that, again, I'm dealing with this right now in the coaching that I'm working with this turnaround situation. The one thing that the principal is doing well is that there is a system for measuring, for good instruction and modeling of academic performance. Every month, there's a full PD session. Every month, there are 2 PLC sessions. And there is data tracking that's happening constantly. I think as the principal, you can control some things, and then there are some things that you can't control. The little chart. I can control, I can't control. One of the things that's hard to control is the motivation for students. In theory. However, that motivation can be increased by, again, celebrating when you see kids moving. Visually, children identify with, if my name is on the board for something good, then I'm going to continue to do it. It works with my husband as well. So I need you to do this. and then we do this. And so it helps all human, it's human nature to be celebrated. And when we are celebrated, we continue those positive behaviors. I think that when we look at academic performance, if we can celebrate discipline or the lack thereof, if we can celebrate attendance and making sure that children come to school every day, all day, and not have checkouts, then we need to take the time to also celebrate academic performance, academic successes, whether those are weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, but it's important for us to celebrate those, because once we start celebrating those, then they become real. In my superintendency, we celebrate every year. We got the graduation rate and it rose for, however many percentage points. There was a celebration because what it means is that we sent more children out into the world to be successful. And I can tell you the ultimate motivation for me now to continue to coach people and to see that this celebration works is when I'm looking on Facebook and I see my kids from several years ago now graduating from college with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees. And so we have, as humans, we have to visualize it. And then once we see that it can be done, then we continue to want to do it. That's my take on that.
Yeah, no, that's a solid take too. I appreciate that. And who else wants to jump in?
I definitely want to jump in on this one. I tell you, I think the statement is my leadership isn't impacting the academic performance of my students the way I envisioned, and many of my students lack motivation. How do I couch this in 25 words or less? And it is the philosophy of efficacy. It is growth mindset. It is the starting with confidence. Confidence leads to hard work, and hard work leads to achievement. And that becomes an upward spiral. When we, not even our young people, but when we as adults believe in our capacity to learn, to do great things, that gives us the effort and the energy. We're willing to work hard. Then we succeed. Yesterday, Dr. Goldie talked about the I can statements, and I thought I was going to fall on the floor. Because when you have that I can statement, you're saying that I believe that you can. Yeah. And that's the heartbeat of all instruction, believing that I can. I'm going to digress 1 second and just give a personal story. Mm-hmm. When my daughter was in high school, she did not do well in her math class. The teacher sent her to summer school. She goes to summer school. The summer school teacher says, "Why are you here? You're really doing great." Gave her strategies for success and said to her at the end of the summer, when you go back to school, you're going to be in honors math. She goes back to school. She's walking down the hall, happier than she can be. And who's standing there but last year's teacher, with his arms folded, and said, "What are you doing here? This is for honors. You're not honors." She went to the office. They didn't have cell phones then. She went to the office and she called her mother. "Mommy, he said I'm not good enough to be in this class." What? I was a classroom teacher. I went home. I put on a pair of black leather pants in September, because my mother always said good girls don't wear black leather. Well, they do now. And if I had a Harley Davidson, I would have gotten on that and ridden up to that school. And I went in, "Where is the principal?" I'm incensed. I'm one of those parents. I could have had on pajama bottoms or something, I don't know, in a bonnet. But they said the principal wasn't there. I said, "Fine, I'm just going to see the superintendent." all of a sudden the principal is available. And I said, who gave this teacher the right to cancel my daughter's future? So students aren't motivated because of the self-talk, number one, and then the messages that we send. Destroy confidence, you destroy achievement. From that set me on my life's work to build and to solidify the philosophy of efficacy. Confidence leads to effective effort, which leads to achievement, not only for children, but for adults. When you believe, you will be willing to put in the hard work. That's the motivation. That's the motivation, belief.
So
Wow.
I'm gonna jump in and say, like, believe to achieve. And that story happens often. We just don't always hear about it.
Yeah.
For me, I think that, you go back to your very first question. It's all on culture, right? When every student walks into that classroom, they have to see themselves on the walls in that classroom. They have to be creators of that. And we have to open doors of curiosity for students and have them be risk takers and have them be critical thinkers. And we're not doing enough of that. And I think that when you come into a classroom, I did an experiment once in a school where we said, end of June, everything's down on the walls, right? First day of school, outside of the door with every student's name on the door is one thing, but every student that comes in there is going to design to specs, and they're going to create from the ground up what that classroom needs to look like to create that culture. That's the motivation that you seek. And when you talk about the principal who's concerned around the achievement, that's your number one, right? All students individually, we need to look at their learner profiles and we need to understand how they learn, and we need to enter in from that aspect. So when you talk about PLCs and dedicated time, we need to do more of that, because we need to create the spaces for teachers to be able to do that. Otherwise, you go into these meetings and you got to go back into business, which is in your classroom, and we don't have the time to embed the professional learning to be able to do that. So I always say to the principals, you got to start with the data, and you got to look beyond the number, and you got to understand, what are we doing? What do we need to do differently? And when we ask the question, what we need to do differently, it's how does that apply to each student that we serve every day in that school? And that's the way that we build the culture, and we build the belief that every student can learn, and we will see the achievement starts to rise. And I speak about that often because I think sometimes we don't leverage the data to tell us the story, right? And we look at this data like satellite data, and we're not really looking at the data that's on the desk. And I think when we understand that, we can unpack the profile of each learner to be able to move them forward.
Hey, Dr. Roberto, let me ask you this. This is probably loaded, probably requires layers of answering, but let me see if you can condense it. What if there's a teacher in a building that is deficient in the analysis of data, and their administrator is not a proficient instructional leader? So to have the conversation around data on a personal level, and the instructional coach is so overwhelmed that even that person is not a reliable asset in this scenario. What am I to do? Like I don't know data. I don't utilize data, but I don't have that oversight either, is the question.
I think that's a great question. It's not actually not loaded. It's what we should be asking all the time. As in Canada, I'm the director, and then I have superintendents of schools, right? So they have about 15 schools in what we call family of schools. Those superintendents need to lead those conversations. So we need to have those conversations at every
Doc,
level.
let me just to clarify for the audience,
Yeah.
right? For the fam, because
Yeah.
that probably threw some people off, as it threw
For
me
sure.
off. When I
Sorry.
first met
Yeah.
you.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
the superintendent position, fam, is not the highest position.
You got it. Yeah.
It's the director is the highest position, and then the
Yeah.
superintendents fall under the director. And that's what
So
that's
those
what Dr. Roberto is.
So Director of Education, CEO, CAO. So you are the Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Academic Officer. And then you have superintendents, and they could be K-8, they could be 9-12, they could be K-12, and you usually have about 15 schools in your family of schools. So in my district, I have 72 schools, 28,000 students, and that's divvied up between 6 superintendents. And so, we have those conversations regularly, but I don't have those conversations without my researcher at the table. Like last night, I was going through data with my senior staff, and I asked each superintendent, right? We need to look at the data, right? And we need to look at it by family of schools, each school, each student, right? We need to look at the students who are MLL learners, so multi-language learners. We need to understand it, and we need to unpack it. We need to get that right first, right? And you need to recognize through your relationships with your principals and your instructional coaches. For me, it's a triangle, right? It's the principal, the superintendent, and it's the instructional coach, and the core is that teacher and that student. And I always say we need to understand the data, and we need to create the spaces for that. And that's a really important piece. So for us, we start right there. And we begin centrally, because as a system, we got to build the capacity so everybody has leveled the playing field and understands, what are we going to do with this data when we get it? And what's the story behind the data? Because guess what? The number doesn't tell you anything. It'll tell you whether your kids are at level 3 and 4. It doesn't tell you that you have 85% of those kids at level 2 that need a little bit of a push, that need a particular strategy. And so that's where the rich conversation occurs. And when we know, when my superintendents aren't in schools, right, that becomes a dissonance. When they're in schools, right, that means they are creating the forum to learn with the principal and the coach alongside, to build their capacity, to say, let's look at this together. And so it is a system's responsibility to create that professional learning for the district to understand what the data is telling us, because it all tells us a story. And we need to know the faces behind the data.
Powerful stuff. Anybody else want to jump in?
I was going to say that Dr. Roberto's right, and that the system has to be created in order for everyone to understand data analysis. We did that during administrative retreat that happened during the summertime. It gives us an opportunity, the superintendent or whoever's at the high level or the director level, to set the stage for what the expectations are for the entire school year. That's the calendar, the professional learning communities, the professional development, and if that's the time for whomever is the strongest in data analysis to teach, then that's that time. Everyone's teaching and learning. Your administrative retreat is not a time to guess, right? It's a time to learn the skills that are going to be necessary to get us through the school year effectively and efficiently, and then working together as a team. It also gives us time to build relationships with other leaders in other buildings so that you can get those strategies that they may need, or that you can borrow or learn from. And then once you borrow and learn from those additional leaders, that gives everyone additional tools in their toolbox from which they can pull throughout the school year, so that when we get to the point of getting the end of the year data, we can see that all of these things added to the success that we see through the data analysis the following summer. And then we go back and we reflect, and then we look at what we need to do to grow from that point again each year. So thank you, Dr. Roberto, for that.
So, Dr. Vincent, it sounds to me that you're saying that retreat is critical.
It is. It was critical in my district. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's critical in every district, because I'm currently working with a principal who did not have time to have that retreat in the summer before school started. So you find yourself,
With principal staff, you mean?
that's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, you find yourself running forward, but still stepping backward because you did not have time to go back and teach. Okay, this is what I meant when I said data analysis looks like this. So I think that anytime a district can afford to have people come in early, can afford to, I mean, we're already on contract, so it's not like you're paying us to be there any other day, right? So you come in early, you bring in the practitioners, you bring in the professionals, you bring in the specialists to teach before we start in August. It gives everybody a running start, and then everybody feels prepared for day one. Otherwise, you find yourself running forward just to take 2 steps backwards, as my daddy used to say.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Dr. Wortham, we good or anything?
Just a little bit. And I just focus on the same thing, that it's about belief. In my head, I heard the phrase as you were speaking. I taught it, they just didn't get it. That's not it. We continue to teach until they get it. We believe it. We believe that they have the capacity. And that's where those professional learning communities come into play. When you feel like you've reached the end of your rope, tie it on to someone else's.
Amen.
And so on and so on and so on, until we all get to the knowledge, the wisdom of how we're going to do this. Someone just knocked me off of my seat when they said, put John Hattie in the chat. I don't quote many people. I'll quote Principal Kafele, but John Hattie, yes, when you talk about collective efficacy and belief, those relationships, that's what moves the bar. Being in isolation, working in isolation is criminal to student success. But partnering and working together is how we all get to move the bar.
Yeah.
Come on with that, John Hattie. Right,
Yeah.
that high effect size. That's the piece that works.
It's, every time I see his name or hear his name, he has a conference every summer through Corwin, and it was at the MGM Grand, and they asked me to be the opening keynote this past summer. And it's so forever when I hear his name, when I see his name, I'm going to flash back to that moment of being on that 90 minutes of being on that stage at the MGM Grand at a conference that's John Hattie's conference, So good stuff. Let's move on. We got a few more here. Let me get that screen right. Letter D. Wow, we got a long way to go, y'all. Y'all good? You good? You got endurance? All right, here we go. This is for Dr. Wortham. I'm ready for the new year, but I'm concerned that as a faculty, we still haven't bonded as a team in the truest sense of the word. What do you think?
I like that word, bonded. That's one of my favorite words. And it takes me back to a professional development session. And we were talking about professional learning communities. And this was a school in a district that was very low performing. And I showed up for professional development. The agenda wasn't ready. The students were home that day, and you didn't feel the energy and the synergy. So I started the professional development session, which was on the philosophy of efficacy. And I was ear hustling, and I heard two teachers say to the other, she wants us to bond, and we don't even like each other. And so from that moment, I realized that the success in student achievement, there's a strong connection between teacher relationships and student achievement. And so I spend an enormous amount of time building teams, building capacity with staff, with the community, not allowing people, not fostering working in isolation, but collaboration, co-laboring. That is the key. And I find when you do that, and I can only go from my own personal experience, I was in a just married, new city, new job, brand new teacher, go in my classroom, close the door. But I found out that you can't extend, you can't get the growth unless you are working together with a team. There's this thing called performance goal orientation and learning goal orientation. Performance goal orientation means that you're constantly performing. That's what we used to call the dog and pony show. Performance goal. And that's what people do when they're not confident. But in a learning goal orientation, and I would share with staff, it's okay not to know, but it's not okay not to know and not to learn. So we don't want to perform. We want to learn and grow together. That's how you build a team. That's how you bond. That's how you work together. And that's how you see increase in student relationships, increase in student achievement when there is an increase and a bonding, if you will, of staff.
Love it, love it. To the fam out there, before the next person goes, if that's you, and I'll hold the mirror up. If that's you and you've got this fragmented staff, this detached or disconnected staff, a staff of good people, but they're all working in isolation in their own little vacuums, right? Then the question becomes, what are you doing to build the team? Because I mean, if you follow sports, you could have superstars playing various different positions. Check the current modern day this year Philadelphia Eagles, right? Isn't it? For the Eagle fans out there, I'm not beating up on your team, but you know they are underperforming. You know that, right? So you got all these superstars, you got all these stars, but they are not functioning as a team right now, right? And that's what happens in schools. You could have superstars in the classes, but we don't have a common goal, common purpose, common mission, common vision, because we're so disjointed, we're so disconnected, we're so detached from one another. That's got to be a priority. And that's what my three guests are addressing right now. So whomever wants to jump in there, jump on in.
Can I tell you the end of that story?
Yeah.
They did come together and they did come out of school improvement. And the end of that story with my daughter, she went on to get her doctorate from Morgan State University in math and science.
Yeah, that's great. But that, you know, and I meant to comment on that story, and I guess someone else went and it left me. But horrible. But I'm glad you did what you did. Yeah, glad you did what you did. Good stuff. Good stuff. Who else wants to jump in here?
I was going to add that you got to know your people. So your staff is like your classroom. And so again, we talk a lot about knowing each student profile. You need to know each staff profile, their strengths, right? Their areas that they need to grow in. And I think as a principal, my best advice, right, is to spend time with each of them on an individual basis to get to know them, and then to create spaces and learning experiences and opportunities that they can get to know one another. And it has to be intentional. Your staff meetings, you only get so much time. When you talked about professional learning in the summer, that's the best time. You don't get that time back. Right? In Canada, we don't have that before the start of the school year. So, you're waiting for one in September, you're waiting for one in October, and then you don't get another one till February and May. So they're they're so important, and they're often very prescriptive because it's ministry it's government dictating, right? These are the things that you need to cover. So could you imagine a brand new principal in a school, and then a brand new principal, and then maybe a brand new principal in your school district? How
Mm.
they have to come in to assess it. I mean, it's a layers upon layers. And so you've got to create some sort of a continuum, say, what do we do for those folks? Right? How do you assess this? And where do you find the creative time and space? And I say invest in your people. You got to look at your budget and you got to create those opportunities. If it's PLC time or it's a staff meeting time, how do you create opportunities where you can do some cross pollination? Because often you can come into a school and you can look and you can see your pockets, right? You got your primaries, your intermediates, right? And they all kind of stick together. How do you create teaming that is cross pollination? Opportunities in your staff room itself are social experiments, getting people to work on things, right, that they would normally not do. Doing your 5 or 10 minute, right? It's the best 5 or 10 minutes loaded in the front of your meetings, right? Where you have some sort of an energizer that unpacks who people are, to bond them, and then to find out who your leaders are in your building, who can help be the glue to create what is called a team. And we have learned a lot from the last World Series of what it means on the field, to be a team, and we have lots to learn from high performing sports teams around what it means, because win or lose, right, they're always together, and it's so essential, and it starts from the coach.
And you know something, I love that analogy, because when teams are not together, we know about it. And there's, you know, not to turn this into a sports talk, but I just want to say this to make the point. That same team, the Philadelphia Eagles, which you probably don't keep up with in Canada. But there's a situation, to the fam out there. There's with that particular team, the quarterback and their star receiver, AJ Brown, are not on the same page. The receiver feels like he's not receiving enough throws. He's not getting the ball thrown to him enough times. He says, I'm always open. I'm always open. You're not getting the ball to me. So then in the press conferences, he's telling the media, I'm always open. You're not getting the ball to me. But then it went to another level, which I said to people, including my wife, I said, this is absurd. There's this Progressive insurance commercial, and that receiver is on a treadmill, and Progressive has this theme out now that we're always open. So he's on the treadmill saying, I'm always open. I mean, are you kidding me? Right? That's the receiver saying to his quarterback through a commercial that I'm always open. Get me the ball. Right? So talk about dysfunction of a team. So then we bring that back to the school level, right? And when we're not going to necessarily be acting like that, but when we're not bonded together, right, then it can have lifelong implication for the children. So it's such an important point that you raise, and it just took me to that commercial. I will never forget that commercial for the rest of my life. To see a receiver talking to his quarterback through a commercial. That to me, that's absurd. The Philadelphia Eagles fans, don't send me no hate mail.
And Doc, I was just going to add that having served as principal in a number of places, I know that team building takes time and intention. And that time and intention has to be focused in two areas: on the people, or the individuals who are going to do the work, and then on the purpose. If we spend time and intention on the people and the purpose, then teams come together. One thing that we did with principals, when I got all new principals, because turnaround situation, is we started having monthly lunch time. So we would go to a local restaurant and we would all have lunch together. This gave people the opportunity to say, hey, I'm from so and so. Who do you know from so and so? I had people from Jackson, Dr. Joe Griffin's from the Delta,
Yeah.
Dr. LaQuanta Nelson was from Jackson. And then I had
He
some
was with
people
us
who are
yesterday
local.
too.
Yeah, I saw.
Okay.
And so everyone had to get to know each other outside of the school building to build a level of trust that I know what I'm doing. And then they started to lean on each other. But that happened during lunch times, during after hour discussions, during all of those kind of where you take the pressure off, right? And we just focus on the person. So if you think about team building, taking time and in intention, and then focus on the people and the purpose, those things is what helps to build a team that can then be cohesive and then work their way for the sake of the children. Because at the end of the day, you're right. If the team is ineffective, the children suffer. And that's the last thing that any of us ever wanted.
Can I add to that too?
Oh, okay, go ahead. I'll
Okay,
pause.
so you mentioned time, which is critical. I always go back to what I consider the 3 B's. Principals should be in their classrooms, checking in, building those relationships, inspecting what you expect. But if one of the 3 B's is in play, then you should be in your office. And one begins with a B, and that is blood. If someone is bleeding or there's a bomb or something of that magnitude, you should be in your office.
Absolutely.
The second B is boss. If your boss comes, then you shouldn't be in your office. You should invite your boss, whoever that is, and walk the halls. Let your boss keep moving with you. And the third is your boo. If your boo calls, you heard Principal Kafali talk about the queen at the top of the hour. The queen is in the house. Honor your family. You're at work, but make sure your family gets priority.
There you go. There you go. Jump on here, Dr. Roberto.
I'm thinking about your audience today, and always as an audience member, I always want to feel connected to them in the sense of, what do we want you to take away, in your toolkit? Like, what are some practical things? And often sometimes we talk up high in the sky and we don't give you the practical things. And I want to share with you, whether I was in the role of director or whether I was in the role of principal, one of the most important things that I always did is my long range plan around creating team. So at the end of June, right, what do I want to see? Right? And I worked myself backwards. And I used to literally map out. And it's okay because the plan is always static and it can change. But I used to map out all my intentional key moments with my staff and what I was going to do, whether it was 2 minutes, 30 seconds, that would create spaces for my team to bond. And currently, where I am as a director, I have one day, 1/5 of my week is spent with my senior team from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And we work on what it's called to be a high performing team. And we create, right, the criteria that we measure to determine how we are high performing. But we always start with something, right? Whether it's a professional reading article, whether it is their, what I call, take out their jar with their stickies. What are you most proud of and why this week? What did you accomplish? What is bothering you, right? Let's put it away, right? What do you feel as a leader you've contributed to? And then we extend it out. right? We extend it out to spaces and places where they talk to one another and give each other those messages. You know, what are you most proud of? And then what I often do is I connect them, whether they're on projects or on particular situations that we're dealing with that are difficult situations. When you bring 2 or 3 of them together, right, you have a lead and some liaisons, those are opportunities outside of the formal, right, meetings that we have that give them leverage and space to build relationship. Because I always say at the end of the day, I'm not going to be here, right, forever, right? And so what we want to be able to do is create a deep understanding of what it means to be team, because we set the course for the next decade. And when people come back or sitting in our seats, they're going to say, what were they thinking, right? So we want to be able to create a culture around team that when we make a decision, right, we live by it, we uphold it, we believe it, and more importantly, we deeply understand it. And the way you do that, if you see all 4 of us on this screen today, right, even if Principal Kafali came up with it, right, we've got to enter into it. So we deeply understand, right, what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that comes from a deep-seated belief. And those are always the opportunities that I take to highlight and to bring folks together around the table. And I think it's really important that you always think about that. And I measure that, you know, did I do it? You know, what was my intention of this 5-minute opportunity? What's my intention of bringing them together on a project? And so I then can look back to see if those critical moments that I mapped out throughout the year actually have an impact on what I call teaming and what I call as a high performing team. It doesn't mean if you're a high performing family of schools principals, a high performing school, a high performing district. What are the criteria and what are you doing to create the conditions to make that happen? And how do you know on a regular basis that what you did had an impact? Because we often forget about the evidence and the impact and the monitoring of what we do. We think we are doing all these great things, right? But we really don't, you know, zoom in to see how they've had an impact. And it's always about the people work.
Love it, love it, love it. You know, with looking at the time, and I'm not going to keep y'all on here all day. Let me transition to some a couple of staff concerns that versus we've been focused on the students the whole time. But let me jump over to this one. And I'm not even going to call a name. Whoever wants to jump on in here, all 3 can respond, but whoever wants to jump first. But let me read it. And by the way, before I read it, let me say to the fam out there one more time: hit the share button, hit the retweet button, hit the repost button, hit the like button. We're still here. Let folks know that we are here. We are live. And for the folks that tuned in late, I also want to remind you that we are trying to switch this entire platform all the way to YouTube. We've always been on YouTube, but we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, or X and LinkedIn. I'm trying to wean us off of Facebook, off of X, and off of LinkedIn, and will be exclusively YouTube. So I appreciate the volume of you who have switched over, but please make your name so that I know who you are. Because some of you've been with me for 6 years, and I know you by the name on Facebook, and now you over on Twitter, on YouTube, and you got some other name that I don't recognize, right? So make sure that I know your identity. Make that, you know, if you don't want to spell it out the way you do, but just make sure that I know who you are, because I want to know who you are that's on here. But again, we're trying to switch it over to be exclusively a YouTube platform. I'm not going to do that anytime soon because I'll lose too many people because they'll think we're off, right? So, but I just want to remind you every week, do that for me. Do me a solid and switch over to YouTube each week when you log back on. With that being said, let me read this to you. I'm ready for the new year. But I'm concerned that I still have a sizable percentage of students who do not see the relevance of education. That's real. That's for anybody that wants to jump in.
Whew. This is a family issue. It is a where do I see myself in the future issue? And it is a community issue um, that that lands at the door of the schoolhouse. So I would start by having some family parent meetings, um, followed by showing children real examples of what education can get them through field trips, through um, guest speakers from the community, um, and those types of things. And then I would work with the teachers to help the teachers to be able to help bridge the gap between what is unknown and unfamiliar to what is known and familiar and what will eventually garner success for the students. I think that it's a build, you are building, painting a picture while everything's happening. It's almost like building a building while you're having to have school in the building. And it's multifaceted to include families, communities. And one of the things that I'm most proud of in the district where I served is that there were so many community members who said, our school district was this. We were state champions. We have all of these doctors. We have famous people from our district. Can we please come in and talk to the children about what we were so that they can see what they can be? And I'm talking professional football players, basketball players, Devin Booker's from Moss Point. But so all of those people, his father, his family, all of those people said, whatever we have to do to get our children to see what they can be. And they came in every single year during homecoming, and every single year in the spring, and every single year during graduation to celebrate children and to be a presence. Because sometimes it's not about what we hear, it's about what we see. And the children need to be able to see that people who look like me, who came from the same street that I'm on right now, are now successful, are now six figures, are now multimillionaires, are now business owners. And when our children can see it, then they know that they can walk the same path to get there through those same hallways, through those same teachers, through those same communities, to make sure that at the end of the day, and they walk across the field, because we still had outside graduation, they knew that the next step was to create a legacy that they too can come back and share with the younger people. So I think it's multifaceted, but it has to do with showing, believing, and then building along the way.
Can I add on to that? Oh my
Yes.
goodness. You just warmed my spirit. Students really disengaged when they believe that success is unattainable. And so as leaders, we must cultivate environments where high expectations are really paired, as you said, with visible pathways to achievement. Serving in a district where the graduation rate was at 68%. When I left, it was 86%. I realized that students don't wait until ninth grade to drop out. They drop out mentally, spiritually in the second grade. In the second grade. And so therefore, we have to, in pre-kindergarten, in kindergarten, start talking about the pathways and start messaging. In all of my schools, we had a college and career culture where we renamed the hallways for colleges and universities, where the teachers had their credentials in a frame outside of their classroom. I think, And as I said to someone yesterday at NAPSI, that one of the greatest moments was when I saw many buses exit our district on a particular day where the students were going on an overnight. Middle school and high school students were going on an overnight trip to college tours all over the country. The other piece, when you have student voice and students talk about, we had a superintendent student circle. They would give me the tea all the time. But then we had the principals circle, one student per grade level, meeting with the principal on grade level. One of the students said, I want to be a barber when I graduate high school. Great. Okay. But let's try to get you into college so you can own the barbershop. As my father told my brother, he worked for IBM for 11,000 years. And one day he told my parents, I don't want to do computers anymore. Chicago, I want to be a barber. My father said, okay, we'll send you to school, but you can only rent a booth for 2 years. After that, you got to own your barbershop. So I took that, and we had the very first barbering school to get your license to be a master barber in our high school.
Wow.
One day I walked in, and the students had just learned that you need to put the sanitation around the neck, and then you put the cape on. When that student took that cape and shook it out, he shook it as a master barber. He only had one class, but we put him in the atmosphere where he knew, where he could see himself. And that's what we have to do. That summer, June, I saw him walk the stage in our high school. And then that summer, I went to his second graduation where he got the master barber certification. Seeing him, I'm getting ready to cry, y'all. Seeing him stand on that stage, he walked out on the stage with his blue high school robe that he graduated with. And then the instructor snatched off that robe, and underneath the robe was his white coat.
Wow.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Student voice, stand with our young people and making their vision a reality.
What a story. Yeah. What a story. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anybody else want to dive in, or did we all dive in? I think we all. Let me give you one more, right? And then we'll schedule the part 3 and come back together again. Right. But I had one. This one I just had to get this one in. Anybody can go first. Let me put it on the screen. Letter J. Here we go. I'm ready for the new year, but I'm concerned that I'm still not utilizing time productively or optimally. I don't know why that disappeared, but here we go. There we go. What do you think, somebody?
Time and motion studies. I think that this is always the crux of the work that we do. We just never have enough time. We're always defined by a bell.
Yeah.
And I can remember that as a student, and I can remember that as a teacher, as a vice principal, as a principal, so forth and so on. There's just not enough time. And so, this whole concept of productivity and, optimal time on task is critical. You've got to assess it all the time. And you've got to ask yourself, what are you spending more time on? Sometimes we spend a lot of time on the things that we like to do, that we're comfortable in doing, right? And sometimes, right, we spend little time on the things that are difficult to do. So
Hmm.
we have to have a mind shift. It's an adaptive shift to that. But, in my role, I can say a lot of my work is defined by the day and the calendar and who can meet and how can meet. And I often step back and give people advice on a couple of things, especially, when you are a principal in your school. What's the added value?
Hmm.
When I was a principal in a school, I always said that, I have 5 days in a week. And if I'm pulled out for a meeting, or if I'm pulled out for an in-school team, or I'm pulled out for a case conference, that's less time that I'm present in my school, right? And if I want to make a priority of being visible in my school outside of the start of the day, lunchtime, and the end of the day, I need to have everybody understand how important that is. And I need everybody's support. And so what that for me meant is if I was going to visit classrooms, everybody knew. The 3 B's, the number 1 B, that's when you called me back. Otherwise, I needed to be committed to that. The more I modeled it, right, the more I demonstrated what it meant to create a productive, optimal learning environment, and where I was able to control that to the ability that I knew that the first thing I need to do, right, on relationships is understanding the learning in the school. And in order for me to do that, that part of my time is the most productive, and it cannot, right, be touched or moved. And everything else around it follows. And that's how I was able to gauge my productivity. Otherwise, you will look back, and I do the math with my folks all the time. We are currently at 50% of the school year right now, right where we sit. Right. And I always take March out because you got a break, and you have a spring break in there. And then you got June. And so it's a whirlwind, right? And we can get caught up in the whirlwind very often. And so I always say 10% every month. What do you want to do and how are you going to reach it? And that should be the driver of your productivity.
Love it. Doc. Before we move on to the other two, you have 72 schools. I think you said 28,000 students, 25 superintendents, and then multiple principals, and I should say administrators. So principals, assistant principals, etc. You have to pretty much be a master of organizing and prioritizing and maximizing time, because you've got so much under you in terms of who you lead, who you support, who you oversee, all that kind of thing. And I would think that you spend a considerable amount of time just ensuring that you are utilizing your time to the best of your ability relative to everything that you do as a director in your district. So my question to you is, when you transitioned into that role, did you have to make any types of shifts in terms of how you prioritize time, or was it natural for you? Walk us through that.
So I want to let everybody know, I'll paint the picture for you. I came into a brand new district. So if anybody understands, Ontario, I live in Niagara Falls. That's the school district that I worked in. I then moved an hour and a half away, right? Despite my commute to a different district, and during COVID. But I knew immediately that the shift in that district needed to be on the learning, right? And what was it going to look like come out of COVID? When you come into these roles, you often have like an exec team that, here's your year, this is how it flows. And so I just kind of took it in and listened. And I started to ask really difficult questions, right? What am I going there for? What's my added value and why? And I always ask those questions because sometimes you get caught in activity traps. Because this is the way we've always done it, because you need to be at this thing because it's always been like that, right? Versus where am I going to spend my time, right? And how am I going to drive and steer the ship in this district so that we have optimal time, so that we're not being run by the way we used to do it, versus how do we, right, create the time and space to be focused on the things that are most important. And so that's a huge shift. One of the biggest shifts I can tell you that happened in my district after the year that I had been in there, and I took all the data points and then I sat and said, like, we can't in a school district, the next new thing comes and we just run to it, right? We got to be really intentional, and we got to be really stuck to our strategic plan. And if our strategic plan has 3 pillars, right, which ours are mental health and well-being, a sense of belonging, and number 1, learning, right? Everything we do, everything that we book, everything that we plan has to be connected. And we start that in March. So in March, we'll be planning the next school year calendar. And that's the only way, right, we can look at things, because we don't finish that until June, and then we step back. Then we get into it in September and we start making actual notes. Was this a good use of our time? Was this productive? How do we know? How does it outperform or perform in terms of supporting the learning agenda in our district? Otherwise, you can be going everywhere and not really understand what your impact is. And I will tell you, as a superintendent of schools, I had 30 schools at one point in my time with lots of other portfolios to work on. So, I would drive from school to school, go in, do my visit, have my, classroom visits, go through questions with my principal, give them next steps, and I would leave. And I would get in my car and I'd get to that 4-way stop with, in those days, the binder in the back of the seat. The binder would fall forward, the papers would fly. And I used to ask myself, what was my impact there? How do I know? That was my problem with practice. How do I know I'm having impact, right? Just because I have to be booked at these, right? Or is there something I could do differently, more effectively, more efficiently, that's really going to get, right, at productive use and ultimately impact on the leaders that I serve and the students and educators? And that's always been a question that I've asked. Why am I doing this, and what's the impact? Otherwise, you've got to take control of that and be willing to get out of your comfort zone, not do the things that you always do or the things you're comfortable in doing, and challenge yourself to do the hard things and ask yourself all the time, right? What does this do to have impact on our moral imperative, which is our students?
Why am I doing this? And what is the impact? I'm just writing that down. Hey, hey, to the fam, and then I'm going to open up the floor, then we close out. Fam out there, why are you doing this? And what is the impact? One more time. Why are you doing this? And what is the impact? Write that down somewhere and refer back to it on a regular. Why am I doing this? Because we all have the question, because we all have tough times. Everything ain't gravy, and sometimes we reach those rough patches, and the question arises: why am I doing this? When I'm sitting in airports all night, why am I doing this? When I'm driving 12 hours, why am I doing this? But then I got to add that other piece. And what is the impact? What is the impact is oh yeah, now I know why I'm doing this, right? But if I stay stuck in why am I doing this, then I'm ticked off that I'm getting ready to drive from daylight to daylight. So seeing entire evenings, right? Like seeing darkness on the front end and the back end, right? And then speaking in the same clothes that I wore yesterday, right? Why am I doing this? What is the impact? Oh yeah, that's why I'm doing it, because of that impact. So
I want to insert something. You got to have the intended impact.
There you go.
Because you got to think about before you get on that plane, right? And be prepared to wake up the next day in the same clothes, right? You got to ask yourself,
No, ain't no
before I
wake
get
up.
on
Ain't,
the
wait.
plane,
Ain't no wake up the next day. Ain't no sleep.
well, there you go. But before I get on that plane, what's my intended impact, right? My intended impact is to go into a place, to deliver a message, to inspire, right? Future leaders, current leaders, right? And then at the end, when you get back on that plane with no sleep, you got to ask yourself, what, right? What were the measures?
Yeah.
Right? What were those evidences that I was able to pick up, evidence of impact, right? That actually go back to my intended impact. You got to ask yourself before you enter in, because
That's
if
right.
you ask yourself after, it's too late.
Too
Right.
late. Too late. Anybody else want to jump in?
I really do want to jump in.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give a leadership truth, and that I'll start with the financial piece, which brings me to the leadership truth. I never like for my financial assistant superintendent or the business office to say, I found the money. You don't find the money. I'm glad you've identified the line item, but you don't find it. And so it's the same thing that leaders don't find time. They align time with values. So when leaders intentionally, and I'm going to repeat, when leaders intentionally design their days around impact rather than urgency, then they reclaim their, if you will, their authority and their energy and their effectiveness. So then for me, the guiding question is, how am I using my time to shape the atmosphere where learning and leadership can actually flourish? So that's how leaders move from, as you said, exhaustion. That's how you move from exhaustion to efficacy. I'm going to give you one more point. I'm going to state it again. You don't find time, you lead time.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Anything, Dr. Vincent?
I agree with both docs, and just wanted to say that the one thing that I did practicality with practical nature is I had an administrative assistant who did not allow for me to waste time on things that did not impact student achievement. So my schedule every day was on my desk, and it was hour by hour, hour by hour. And if I needed to be at the lower elementary school, she would say, now you need to get your purse, get your keys. You have to be there. You have a parent meeting. So I think, yes, we don't find time. We must align time. But on the front end, I gave her the directive that this is what's important. This is what my schedule needs to look like every week. This is what my schedule needs to look like every day. And she held me accountable to it, because there are people who will come in and just want to chat or have lunch or whatever the case may be, and they will kind of destroy your schedule. It's important to have someone, an accountability partner. In my case, it was my administrative assistant who guarded my time and made sure that I aligned the time with impact and didn't allow for me to get lost in the sauce, as the kids say. So sometimes you need a little help with that, because everybody wants to come in and meet with the superintendent or the principal. And you have to have someone to help you guard the time and make sure that your time continues to be aligned with the impact, the intended impact.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And fam, that takes us to the end. I have about 6 more that we didn't get to. That's okay, because we can get to them at another time. But to the fam, let me ask you the question. Did today's session resonate with you? Were some gems dropped today? Was it useful? Could you incorporate some of what you heard, or if not all of what you heard, into your leadership practice? Could you take it with you on Monday morning, or take it with you into 2026? If so, you know what we do on this platform. Give us your emojis. Give us your favorite emojis. That's the way we applaud our guests. So give us those emojis. Keep them coming. Some of y'all had already started, and that's what we do as well. But keep those emojis coming if today's session was a good session, and if you find that you can utilize what you heard. Let me just get my emoji out, my Louisville Slugger, while I'm wearing my New York Black Yankees jersey, Negro Leagues, and y'all hit it out the park every time. Right out of Yankee Stadium, which is where the Black Yankees play some of their games. They play some of their games also in Patterson at Hincliffe Stadium, Patterson, New Jersey. But some of y'all thought I was wearing New York Yankees. Nah, come on now, y'all know I don't wear no. Even when I wear my major league stuff, I ain't wearing no New York Yankees because I'm a Mets fan, right? But here we are, New York Black Yankees, Negro League. Satchel Paige even played for them briefly, right? So good stuff. I see all those emojis. Keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. But two of you are also consultants, and I want you to give your information again. I should have done this an hour ago midway, and I forgot. I got so wrapped up into it listening to y'all. But let me start off with Dr. Vincent. How do they reach you? How do they book you? Give them everything they need.
All righty. So you can always find me at just Shannon Vincent on Facebook and on Instagram. I have a website, Dr. Shannon Consulting and Coaching, and my email address is drshannon15@gmail.com. That was easy.
Good. And I'm clearing the screen just so that you can see your name. And I'm struggling a little bit, but here we are. All right.
It's okay.
There we go. Yeah. Dr. Wortham, how did they book you?
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. drdeborahLwortham.com. That's my warehouse. You can find ebooks. You can find all of the contact information, how we can chat and chew. drdeborahLwortham.com.
Sounds good. Dr. Roberto, are you doing any consulting yet? Speaking, anything of that nature?
Yes, I'm doing speaking, and anytime anybody wants a one-on-one, you can just find me as well. I have an email. It's roberto.joanna@gmail.com, or it's Dr. JoAnna Roberto on Instagram. Just message me.
Very good. And I didn't
let me know that you're coming from the School of Kefali, and I'll respond to you.
Yeah.
Because I have somebody monitoring and measuring and looking after my Instagram. So if it's not fam, they just say not at this time. So you just gotta leave the clue, right? Fairly.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about someone that supports 72 schools, they can't go through every email, right? and then if you want to learn the restaurant business, they got the family-owned business out there in Ontario as well. Good stuff. Hey, and to the fam, I appreciate y'all being here for week number 294. That's a lot. We're approaching 300 soon, so appreciate you being here. Let me close us out by first and foremost reminding everybody. I want y'all to switch over to YouTube, man. I don't want to be on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn anymore. I really don't. I just want to be a YouTube platform, but I want you to use names that I know who you are, right? So just keep that in your mental notebook. I'm not doing it. I'm not leaving those platforms anytime soon because it will be sabotage to the platform. But I do want to remind you, just come on over to the YouTube world with me, right? Next week is going to be very, very interesting. Week number 295. I got these are Philadelphia administrators, Principal Vance McNair and his assistant principal, Michelle Todd Coleman. Let me tell you real quick why it's going to be so interesting. I met them over the summer, early summer in San Antonio at the ASCD conference. And their chemistry is unlike anything I've ever seen. These two are administrators, but they are clearly friends. Clearly. And I said to them, because I was actually booked until December, and I said to them, if you guys don't mind booking 6 months in advance or 7 months, whatever it was, I said, let's do it. They said, no, let's lock in. So I saw them recently in Philly at the Black Men in Education convening, and I said, I'm looking forward to this one, so they ready, so tune in, y'all, because we're going to, obviously we're going to be talking about that principal AP relationship among the other things we talk about. But I want you to see this dynamic between the two of them. It's a powerful dynamic. It really is, right? So tune in next week number 295. Then next Saturday, Facebook Live, make sure you check out Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Tammy Taylor, Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Myself at 10:55 on YouTube. And then and that's Super Saturday. And then on Sunday, come on back on for Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno. And that'll be the PGP podcast at 6 o'clock Eastern. If you're watching football, just do like I do. Put them on and then have the TV playing, right? So that way I can see them both, right? We turn the volume down on the TV and I listen to Josh and Madi, right? So then make sure that, again, I'm going to keep hawking this thing, man. If you don't have it quite yet, get yourself a copy of the what is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise, right? I don't think I'm gonna hit the bestseller status, but you never know, right? So get yourself a copy. I only got 3 more days for the anniversary, which was December 16. We had 9,000 something. It should have been at 10,000 at least by month 5, but Washington is a little different right now. So the industry took a hit. So books just weren't selling. People ain't buying books. They're trying to buy eggs, right? So make sure you get yourself this book, if you can. And I would be most appreciative. Let me take it off the screen and finish up. I forgot to put the conference up February 16. I'll have it up next week, but our conference here in Jersey, I'll put it on my website today. It's not even on my website. I'll put it on there today. And somehow I have to do a pre-Kwanzaa event tonight in Brooklyn. So I'm tired, man. I ain't had no sleep in 48 hours. And I didn't know that when I accepted it. But now here I am. I'm expected to be in Brooklyn at 7 o'clock tonight and doing a whole keynote address on something. I don't know what it's going to be. I think they asked me to talk about purpose, Nia. And we're going to do that. And we're going to talk about why you exist. How about that? Yeah. And then I'll drive on back home. And tomorrow, there's my couch right over there. I'll be watching football from 1 Eastern time until about 11 p.m. Except for when I watch Josh at 6. And then other than that, y'all subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy. We got 24,600 subscribers, but we're almost at 24,700. So just hit that subscribe button for me, and then also hit the notification bell so that you know when I go live every week at 10:55. Visit principalcafele.com, and then finally, your diet. Take care of yourselves, y'all. A lot of compliments yesterday. Cafele, man, you look slim. Hey, man, that's intentional. That's intentional, baby. So take care, your diet, get that exercise in. That's intentional too, man. And I tell you this all the time, but I'm going to tell it to somebody else today that may not have ever heard it, or someone that heard it but needs to hear it. There's never a day. I'm not going to the gym today because I don't want to fall asleep driving to Brooklyn. But tomorrow I'll be in there before the games come on. But there's never a day when I am preparing to go to the gym where I'm thinking within myself, oh man, I can't wait to get there. That day does not exist in my life. There's never a day, oh man, I'm looking forward to going to the gym. And then when I get there, I'm never in the locker room putting on my shorts and my t-shirt saying, man, I'm pumped. I can't wait to get on that treadmill and that bike, man. No, it's not. No. And I probably shouldn't even be admitting this, but I don't mind. No, my mind is saying, I need this time to go real fast. So let me find the right podcast that's going to take my mind away from this mess that I'm getting ready to do, walking in place for about 50 minutes, right? So that I'm not thinking about that I'm doing that. And then when it's over, or when I'm getting to the end and I feel so pumped now that I'm ending, let me go an extra half mile or so, sometime an extra mile. See, I got to play mind games on myself, right? So when I do that, you know, we get it in, and then I could go to a conference and everybody's saying, yo, you slim, Kafele. You taking care of yourself. Yeah, because these dreaded days that you don't see, I'm taking care of business. I'm handling my business, right? So make sure you getting that exercise in your diet, and then those virus precautions. When I walked in here last night, my wife was like, stay away. It's a lot out there. You know that you got measles epidemic. You got, yeah. Look, I know I'm getting ready to go off, y'all. I ain't gonna get political, but there is a guy in DC that's telling us not to do this and not to do that, which we used to do to keep us healthy. And he said it's no longer healthy. Do what I do. I'm not a doctor, but I have the answers. So just do what I do, right? And so now people dying of measles. Oh my God, measles? All right, I'm done, y'all. Let me not get started, right? So anyway, I am going to say this. Take your virus precautions, and I'll leave it right there. I know I'm taking mine. I'll leave it right there. Y'all have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I see y'all next Saturday at 10:55.